Larry Eustachy, the Iowa State head coach, taking the Cyclones to just their 4th Sweet 16 in school history, now ready to meet the media in Auburn Hills.
Round of 16.
Well, I'd been here before as an assistant coach at Ball State years ago, and it's just such a jump from being in the first 2 rounds to getting the Sweet 16, and I explained that to our players prior to the Auburn game. It's just a whole different level, I imagine, much like from here to the Final Four is. And I think our players will notice that when they get out in the court and see the number of fans out there just for practice. And my thoughts are I'm happy for them, and our fans in particular too. They deserve this season, and it's been quite a ride, and we're anxious to see how we can do up here.
Questions for Coach Eustachy? Middle right.
I'm sorry, Philip B. Wilson, Indianapolis Star. I admire Marcus Fizer saying we don't change our game plan for nobody. I'm just curious, though, whether it registers with the West Coast stereotype of run and gun and maybe a lack of discipline, whether a half-court team has an advantage against a West Coast team, a team that can play half-court.
Well, I watch this UCLA team, and I see a team with a real plan. They're best in transition, particularly off a turnover. And Coach likes to say change gears, and they do, and they can back it up, and they get in this 1-4 high, and they execute it as well as that offense I've seen executed in a long time. They get the balls to spots, and they know who the scorers are, which is anybody who has the ball in their hand can score it. So, and then they get back and they change their defense. And I see a well-organized, tough team to play against. And I think similar styles. I mean, we push it hard. If we don't get it, we organize our offense and take the first good shot and get back with a defensive scheme. So a lot's been made about the depth, and the depth doesn't worry me. The fouling does. If we have certain guys that foul and can't play because of foul trouble or eliminated from the game because of 5 fouls, that would be the only problem with our depth. Other than that, we're in great shape, and we've got good strength in these 2.5-hour timeouts, it seems like. I don't know what to tell the team. You'll see me walk behind our players. I can't talk for 2.5 minutes during timeouts. So, I mean, nobody. You take Fizer out in the first half, and he's not even tired. So why even? I mean, they said that you played your whole team the second half, didn't sub. Well, why? They're our 5 best players, and they don't get tired.
Middle right again.
Coach, other than, my name is Norman Airy with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Other than your coaching genius, explain how you jumped from 15-15 to 31. I mean, that's a hell of a jump. What exactly happened? What transpired?
Well, we added, really, the conception was that, or what was perceived was Tim Floyd left Iowa State with the cupboard bare, if you will, player-wise. And if you look at the core of this team, Paul Shirley when he was healthy, Martin Renzik when he was healthy, Fizer, Mike Nurse, he recruited Stevie Johnson. I mean, the core of our team are the guys he left. The program got slighted when C.J. Bruton was declared ineligible by the NCAA because he played overseas, et cetera. That really set the program back because we didn't have a point guard. So we've added just really a couple players in Jamal Tinsley and Cantrell Horton, which is, I think college basketball is all about guard play. There's a lot being said about Marcus Fizer, but we've added 2 actual point guards. Cantrell Horton is a point guard, but he plays the off because of Jamal Tinsley's skills. And then with Paul Shirley, who was already in the program but redshirted, he's in the upper echelon of big guys in the Big 12. So 3 good players were added, along with the improvement of the Fizers and the Nurses. knowing what to expect after a year under the new coaching staff, it makes sense. Now to say we were going to be 31-4, I didn't think that. But I knew we were good even when we lost to Drake, 48-44. I knew we were good. And then I think this team really gained some confidence in a close loss. It wasn't in the score, 15 points, but it was closer than that against a great Cincinnati team. And we just kind of made the plays at the end to win a lot of close games.
Middle back.
Larry, Pat Forty from the Louisville Courier-Journal. What's this year been like for you personally? You've won a lot of games, but until now you weren't necessarily a national name, and now, ESPN wants to come to your practices, that sort of thing. Can you describe what this year's been like for you?
Well, for me, nothing's changed. I mean, you can tell I've got matching clothes on right here, blue sweatpants and a sweatshirt with a hole in it. Larry's Larry, and that's great. I've been around that a little bit. My last year at Utah State, we were on ESPN, I think 7 times. My first job at Idaho, we were covered by 5 TV stations and 8 newspapers. So but the national spotlight probably is what you're talking about. And I haven't even, until you asked me, I haven't even thought about it. What I like about it is our players' exposure and the credit they get, and particularly our fans can stick their chest out at the local Hy-Vee and feel proud to be a Cyclone when we've had some tough years the last couple of years.
Middle back.
Phil Richards, Indianapolis Star. Larry, what do you remember? Do you remember your Ball State days fondly? And what do you remember of that previous trip to the Sweet 16? What did you learn? What do you remember most vividly?
I remember most vividly what I'm about to do and our team's about to do, and that's walk out on that court. And the magnitude for me, the announcers that you've only seen on TV, and now they're out there. Just a tingle that goes through your body. You know that you are in this elite group, and it's a different feeling than the first round's games up in Minneapolis. I remember having to play UNLV and playing that game very close, but just the experience. It was kind of an exceptional deal. We had at UNLV, who I think ran through the whole year undefeated and beat Duke badly in the finals, and that was the year Loyola Marymount was in there, and the year Hank Gathers passed away. They were in the group of 4, so it was a special situation. You saw a lot of special things happen, that our players are about ready to experience that, and I think it's great.
In the back on the aisle.
Larry, was there anything at all sobering about watching UCLA in that Maryland game? And if that team with that kind of talent has brought its A game, as good as you guys are, as good as anybody is, what can be done with them?
Well, that's when the coach might get too technical. It's about 12 minutes into the game and find the local bar. Because if they bring that, I'm sure Gary over at Maryland is still scratching his head. He got hit by a freight train, and nothing he could do about it. And they're a young group, is what you have to remember, and they've made, this edition of Rush is great, but they've just made normal progress and got hit with a tough schedule, and that's why you explain those losses. But I think Coach has done a great job. Coach Lavin is to hold that team together and then stay with it, and now have they are the hot team. Who's hotter? They are the hottest team in this tournament, and they really are playing probably with more confidence than anybody. And we get hit with their best game, we're going to have to throw out our best to have any kind of chance to be in it.
Front right.
Can you talk about things Jamal does? Does he throw passes? He says he throws passes he doesn't know they're going to happen until they happen. I mean, are you scared by that? Or do you get excited by that?
Well, I've seen Jamal have 10 turnovers in a game. So I think, first of all, I think the progress he's made. Usually these guys make this tremendous progress in between years after they've been there a year, but he's made so much progress. It's a tribute to him because he's been so receptive. But I'm a big fan of how he plays. I don't mind the behind the back, the spin passes, the through the legs, the stuff that would bother some coaches, as long as it's productive. You know, I just tell him we have a deal. You know, if it results positive, great. If not, you know, we're not going to have very much of it. And he's an exciting player. He's sent electricity through Ames, Iowa, and the state of Iowa, just in the way he plays. People come to watch him play. But the great thing about him is he's a team player. You know, he'd rather pass than shoot. And I always have to remind our team when they drop one of his passes, because it's put right in their mitts, but they're surprised that it got through all these other hands, and that, you know, he would rather pass it than shoot it. So you ought to always be ready to catch the ball when you're in an area to score.
In the back on the aisle.
Coach, it seems like the other three teams in this bracket have got so much history. Would you speak a little bit about what a chance this is for your school to create a little history this weekend?
I think it's a great point. You know, we don't have the history of the three schools, for sure. You know, they're the upper echelon, and I'd like to think we're right below it. We do have tradition with Johnny Orr, Tim Floyd, you know, other Sweet 16 appearances, but we do have a chance to make history. We've never been in the Elite Eight in recent times, since they've gone to 64. So it's a great point. And you know, I've recently signed a lifetime contract. If in fact a coach can have a lifetime contract these days at a place that I love and think has tremendous potential. So that's our goal, is to get in that collection of names, but that's only going to be through the test of time. It's not intimidating. It's just an honor. You know, you think of the coaches in this tournament. It's just a great collection of schools, and we're striving to get. But you think about the years it took for those schools to do that. Obviously, you know, we're not there yet.
Final question for Coach Eustachy.
You talked a moment ago about how hot UCLA is, how they're probably the hottest team in the tournament right now. At this point, does their seed, number 6, just become like negligible, just become totally meaningless?
I think that's another good question. I think they're all tossed out now, aren't they? I mean, Wisconsin, what's their seed? They're playing. They're what are they? Yeah, well, they're playing like a 1. I think when you got to the last round of 32, there's no bad team. That's why for Stanford to lose doesn't surprise me. For Arizona to lose doesn't surprise me. I mean, name me a bad team in that last 32 with this format, you know. Now name me a bad team in this last 16. I mean, anybody could win this national championship because of what's happened recently of the players leaving to the NBA. You know, I mean, some of these guys, Baron Davis should still be with UCLA, shouldn't he? Am I right or wrong? Would he still be a senior? What about North Carolina's talent if those guys had stayed? So that's why you see the Gonzagas with a chance to win a national championship. It's the seeds are out, and they're all good.
Coach, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Larry Eustachy, who grew up in Arcadia, California, dreamed of playing at UCLA, played at Citrus Junior College instead. 3 years at Idaho as a head coach, 5 years at Utah State, before going to Iowa State, where he's got his team on the verge of the Elite Eight. We'll head out to the Western Regional next. Gonzaga first on the news conference list, followed